Ladies and gentlemen, the election is kind of over. Okay, so I think I told you on Friday or Thursday, when did we meet? Thursday, that the election is in the process of being certified right now, and the projected winner is Joe Biden. Some of you guys are pretty upset about that. A good portion of the United States is pretty upset. Elections tend to do that. So we are on the other side of it, kind of. What's going to happen next is that the states have to officially certify their results sometime in December, and then there will be another election in December. The Electoral College is going to officially cast their votes, and then we'll see who puts their hand on the Bible on January 20th at noon. So that's kind of what's going on with the world right now. We're going to do our best to focus on some biology with this video. And it's getting a little cold, so I have my scarf going. Hopefully you guys are doing well, wherever you are in Los Angeles or around the world. And yeah, let's see. I think that's all I have to say about that. Today is all about the plant phyla. I have not yet graded your stump speeches yet. Today we're focusing on plants. On Wednesday, it's a day off, but I'm going to film on Wednesday too. Wednesday we are going to talk about animal phyla. So why don't we just dive right in, shall we? Let's take a look at the, where are you? There you are. Aha, page 28. The title is Bryophyta and Angiospermophytes. On page 29 is plant biodiversity. Now, you were supposed to look at the stump speeches and get an idea about what bryophytes and angiospermophytes are. Plants are this wonderful, wonderful kingdom of life that has so many different awesome things about each plant. We're going to do our best to kind of talk about the amazing life of plants today. On page 29, we're going to write down the goal of the day, and then we're going to dive into our explanation. Stop that share. I'm going to share with you the agenda for today. It's pretty easy. Two things. Number one is to write down the plant phyla on page 29, submit that to me, and then finally input some new things into your Pokédex. I still need to make a growing list of organisms that I'd like you to put into your Pokédex so it can help you. Okay, I'm going to stop that share. Let's look at, where are you? All right, give me 1 second, people. I am looking for your goal of the day. Where are you? Ha, here we go. Let's write down the goal of the day. This will go on page, what is it, 29 of your bills. Screen share. And here it is. Okay, here are the goals. Number one, students understand the external recognition features of bryophytes, phylacenophytes, coniferophytes, and angiospermophytes. The other two goals we're going to talk about a little bit later in our next lesson. Today, I just want you to focus on 4 plant phyla: Bryophyta, Coniferophyta, Phylacenophyta, and Angiospermophyta. Again, you have kingdoms up here, and the category underneath are the phyla. So we're going to talk about 4 plant phyla today. We're going to leave out Ginkgophyta, but that was one of the stump speeches as well. Okay. With that said, let's dive right in. Take out your markers and your flashcards. The notes look something like this. They're available online for you if you want to take a look at that. Plant phyla, page 29. Okay. Phyla of kingdom Plantae. This goes on page 29 of your bills. You guys are IB cohort number 6, You will always and forever be my favorite, cohort number 6. You can take that to the bank. Let us write down these words first so you can get more familiar with them. Bryophyta, Phylacenophyta, Conophorophyta, and finally Angiospermophyta. I have ordered them in a specific way, which I'm going to talk about at the very end. What I want to do is I want to dive into each one of these to look at their external recognition features. Bryophytes. Bryophytes are very cool organisms. They're so simple in a lot of ways, but that makes them wonderful. Here's a rock. If you go out into the forest, you'll see that on rocks, there are these growing patches of plants. We call these moss. You also have these kind of clusters of plants on the ground. They don't go very high. They're kind of on the surface of the ground. These are called liverworts. And finally, there are other organisms we call hornworts. They kind of look something like this. Not a wart like on your finger or something. That wart is spelled W-A-R-T. These are W-O-R-T. I know this kind of looks like a bunch of breadsticks put together. These are called hornworts. Mosses, liverworts, and hornworts. So what I want to do is I want to look at these organisms and other examples. And I want to talk about their shared traits. What do they have in common? Do they have seeds? Do they have organs? Do they have fruit? And what kind of vascularization do they have? So before I dive into answering these questions, let me just talk about what these all mean. Seeds, how does it reproduce? Organs, how does it maintain life? Fruit, how does it spread its seed around? And vascularization, what kind of transport supply do they have within their body? Our body's vascularization uses blood and veins and arteries. Sorry, and arteries. So what do plants use? Okay. The bryophytes, do they have seeds? No. No, they do not. They do have spores. Spores are microscopic specks responsible for spreading the genes around. They're so small that they're undetectable by the eye, at least the human eye. These organisms don't have a stem, so they kind of lie on the surface of stuff. They have no leaves. no roots. Instead, what they have is a precursor to a root and a stem. So that precursor, the pre-root, this is called a rhizoid. Rhizoid, R-H-I-Z-O-I-D, rhizoid. They also have a pre-stem. So it's not really a stem, but it kind of resembles a stem. It's called a thallus. Rhizoid and thallus. No fruit. And they have no vascularization, none. They have no xylem, and they have no phloem. You can think of xylem and phloem as veins and arteries of a plant. They don't have blood. If you rip open a leaf, it doesn't start to bleed. Can you imagine that? That'd be terrifying. They instead have xylem and phloem. Xylem transports water, and phloem transports sugar. Again, bryophytes don't have xylem and phloem, but I just wanted to define them for you here. One for xylem, one for phloem. Okay, bryophytes, like mosses, liverworts, and hornworts. They don't have seeds, they don't have organs, they don't have fruit, and they don't have vascularization. They're so simple, very simple organisms. They do have a bit of a root called a rhizoid and a bit of a stem called a thallus. But other than that, pretty simple. They reproduce using spores that kind of fly in the air. The phylloscenophytes are a little more complicated. You guys may have seen these phylloscenophytes around. Here's the ground. Here's a stem. And what you have are these little branches. This is called a fern. Firm. I was thinking of perm. Fern. Feel the fern. Okay. Let's talk about the shared traits that phylloscenophytes have with each other. I'm going to abbreviate it as SOF V, SOF V. Does it have seeds? No seeds. It only has spores, similar to bryophytes. Here's a difference. Phylloscenophytes, they do have roots. True roots, they have stems, and they have leaves. You'd never see a fern with a fruit, though. They don't have any fruits. And as for vascularization, of course, they have xylem, and they have phloem. Do you see how these plants are getting bigger? The bryophytes were so small. They didn't need xylem and phloem. There's not a lot of space to move around at all. But look at the phylloscenophytes. Look at all their branches and their leaves. They must have a stem and some roots to nourish all the different parts of the plant. Not bad so far. These plants are more recognizable to you. So a conifer, you guys have probably seen conifers in your lifetime before. These are your Christmas trees, dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. Over fields we go, laughing all the way. A Christmas tree is a conifer. If you've been to Sequoia National Park, you see a lot of little Christmas trees around there. They're really beautiful, and they smell great too. Pines, cedars, these are all different types of conifers. Okay, what are the shared traits of conifers? Soph V. So when you guys are answering a question like this on an exam, cough, cough, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, you can remember it as Soph V. Does it have seeds? Oh, yes, it does. These seeds are very special. These seeds are dispersed by cones. Whoa, are you telling me those pine cones that come off the pine trees are actually seeds? Yeah, they are. If you were to take all the hard stuff or the shelling, the encasing around the seed, you'll find the seed on the very inside. Those cones are female. And actually, if you kick the cone, you're actually doing the tree a favor. So you know how kids like to kick pine cones? The tree actually not approves, but it doesn't mind that you're kicking the pine cone. That spreads its DNA. The male part are the spores. So conifers have both male spores and female cones. The conifers do have true roots. They have stems, they have leaves. They have these very special needle leaves. So they don't have the flat leaf, which you commonly see in like LA trees and such. Their leaves are needle. So one for needle leaves and one for female cones. They don't have any fruit, and they are fully vascular. Valcular. Let's see, we're at 19 minutes. We have one more to go. Not bad for time, people, not bad for time. Makes me wonder maybe if I'm going a bit too fast. It's okay. You guys can always slow it down or speed it up on YouTube. Your angiospermophytes are your flowering plants. Aww. She loves me. She loves me not. She loves me. She loves me not. She loves me. She doesn't love you, Chungtek. I'm kidding. Chungtek is very lovable. This is a sunflower. So your angiospermophytes, these are all of the organisms that flower. So what are the shared traits of all of these organisms? Does it have seeds? Yes, it does. But these seeds are not dispersed through cones. They are dispersed in fruit. Let me change the way you think about fruit here. Fruit is delicious. Strawberry, oranges, pineapple, etc. However, the fruit is not designed to be delicious just for human beings. The fruit is designed for all kinds of organisms to spread the seed for the plant. So you're not benefiting from the plant is benefiting from you. You are spreading its seed around without it having to exert energy. Pretty brilliant. It has true roots, stems, and leaves. It's got it all. It is fruit bearing. And it is flowering. Sometimes the fruit comes from the flower. And angiospermophytes are fully vascular. So a sunflower is just an example of that. Summary. The kingdom Plantae has many phyla underneath it. We are only examining 4. Bryophytes, phylacenophytes, coniferophytes, and angiospermophytes. Each one of these phyla have special characteristics to them. You don't have to remember more special characteristics, but you do have to remember the stuff that we mentioned here. Rhizoid thallus for bryophytes. Phylacenophytes are fully vascular. They have true roots, stems, and leaves. No fruit, no seeds. Coniferophytes will advance and have seeds, but they're dispersed by cones and not fruit. And they have leaves, but they're not flat leaves, they're needle leaves. But the angiospermophyte has all 9 yards. It's got seeds with delicious fruit. It's got true roots, stems, and leaves. It's a fruit bearing. It's also flowering to attract organisms to it. And it's fully vascular. Look what's happening here, class. You have a developmental pathway. Simple, more complex, and more complex. So this is the most simple one, and these are the most complex ones. This is an evolutionary tree, one after the other, more and more advanced over time. That's why I've ordered it this way, for the most simple over here and the more complex over here. If you're interested in learning plants, we can spend an entire year on only plants. This field of study is called horticulture. Horticulture. We don't have many horticulturalists in Los Angeles because we live in the city. But if you move outside the city and you learn a little bit about farming and about plants, there's a lot of biology happening out there. Okay, I think that's all I have to say. We're at 25 minutes. And I'm going to stop that there. I'm going to stop that share. And I'm going to check out by saying, hopefully you guys are doing okay. This is Mr. Din once again broadcasting from Koreatown. Miss you guys. See ya.